Gentlemen.
93 or go to ProBuiltPatio.com.
Kenworth.
Hi, this is Paul Stanley.
Hi, this is Gene Simmons of KISS for RAD.
Recording artists against drunk driving.
Getting drunk may be your business, but it's my business too, because when you get out on the road, my butt's in your hands. Get a designated driver. I don't want to die because you want to have fun. Remember, music lives.
And so should you. Don't drink and drive. I want you alive.
Public service message brought to you by the Ad Council, the Department of Transportation, National Association of Broadcasters, and RAD.
Hi, Olympic gold medalist Misty May Trainer here with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, reminding you to get moving every day.
Get up and play an hour a day, Dom. Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
WHB, Kansas City. America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Here are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Scott Traylor. I'm at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, where it is the 3-day show of the 11th annual Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. We'll give you all the updates from the first 2 nights of action down here at Wheatland in a moment. Kirk Elliott back at Racing Boys HQ, along with Todd Surprise and Adam Bartlett producing the show. Blake back at Sports Radio 810, taking care of everything for us there.
Marco did.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's going to be a great show today. We're going to start off the show talking with Danny Lorton here in a little while. We'll talk to Danny about everything that's going on down here at Lucas Oil Speedway. He's a good friend of the Racing Boys. Also, we're going to talk to our old friend, Junior Parkinson. Junior Parkinson is going to talk about the late, great Ray Lee Goodwin, who passed away last week. And unfortunately for us, the racing world has lost a great ambassador to open wheel racing and racing in general when it comes to Ray Lee Goodwin. One of the great guys. Ray was just one of the special people in all of motorsports and a great man. We'll talk about him with Junior Parkinson a little bit later. And also we'll get into what's going on dirt and asphalt with Lee Spencer in hour number 2. Kirk, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, and Marco is filling in for Blake this morning. So, Marco, welcome. So, Blake is what's he got? You got some kind of a party going on there, Marco? What's going on? I think.
Yeah, he is in Oklahoma City for a bachelor's party. He's in a wedding.
That sounds dangerous.
Sounds like he should have taken some aspirin with him if he was going to a bachelor's party. That's all I can say about that. Kirk, it's been a great 2 nights of action down here at Lucas Oil Speedway for the first 2 nights of the 11th annual Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. It's hard to believe it's been 11 years already. But the action has been great down here. Derek Hagar in the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour Series has put it on in the first 2 nights. Just an overwhelming victory the first 2 nights. What do you think about Derek Hagar and his success the first 2 nights of the Hockett?
One word, domination. I mean, last night he just ran away with it, and he was so strong on Thursday night, but last night he was extra strong. So Derek Hagar, who's a former winner of this event, I think he's only one of 2 drivers that have won in both the non-wing and the wing cars at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. So Derek Hagar has had a history of running well at this event, and he's got it going on right now, and let's see if he can do the sweep tonight in the winged Lucas Oil ASCS series. So
what I've noticed about Derek Hagar, Kirk, is how he's able to roll the center of the racetrack. He's very good at rolling the center of the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, he's just outstanding at working the middle. And I want to point out and give accolades to the track prep that's gone on down at Lucas Oil Speedway. The track preparation has been fantastic. You talk about the number of race cars, the number of laps that have been on that track each of the first 2 nights, Thursday and Friday night. I mean, we're talking 60-plus race cars in both the non-wing and the wing cars at Lucas Oil Speedway, and that track has held up very well. And as great as it was on Thursday night, it was even better last night. And so just hats off to the way they prepped this racetrack, because to hold up that many cars and that many laps and still have a pretty good racetrack at the end of the night, that's good work down there for the folks at Lucas Oil Speedway doing the track prep.
You know, Kirk, there was a lot of discussion amongst the teams, not so much at the racetrack, but a lot of the teams had talked about maybe splitting the field the first night, running half the field on Thursday night, run the other half of the field on Friday night, and then run your alphabet soup on Saturday night. I think if you would have went around and taken a poll of all the people in the pits, the drivers, the crew members, the people that have to work on these race cars down here, I think you would get a vote of, yes, let's split the field. But here's what I try to tell people. You know, really the first two nights of the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial down here at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, it's really about the people that come in early, that camp here. There's a lot of campers here. Kirk, I've been saying this for years, and I'm getting ready to say something that maybe I haven't said in the past. This event at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, population 600 and whatever amount of people live down here, could be the single biggest event in wing and non-wing sprint car action of the year. Now, I say that because you take a look, other than Knoxville, where they have the 360 and the 410 Nationals, name me one event that is at the magnitude of this event, and the event itself that drivers want to win. It's kind of like the Chili Bowl, right? Everybody knows that they could pay more at the Chili Bowl if they wanted to, but they don't, because it's not about winning the $10,000 at the Chili Bowl. It's not about winning the amount of money that they're going to pay out here this weekend. It's about winning the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial, and everybody wants that one on their resume. And I think that even when it comes down to the Lucas Oil POWRi war cars, same thing for those guys. Xavier Doney, Wesley Smith, Jack Wagner, Justin Zimmerman, Mario Klauser, all those guys, Joe B. Miller, Zach Dom, everybody, Wyatt Burks, all those guys that are running in the non-wing, it's the same thing. They want to win the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial because it's got Jesse Hockett and Daniel McMillan's name tied to it. It's one of the big events of the year. It's one of the most prestigious events of the year, and everybody wants to win this event. Would you agree?
Yes, sir. And, such a tribute to Jesse Hockett, who we lost 11 years ago. And if you're Jack Hockett standing down there watching everything that goes on, you have to be so proud. And it's so special that people still revere Jesse Hockett the way they do and consider this event as prestigious as it is now. And Jack is standing down there watching this all happen. And that's pretty special. You gotta really feel good for Jack that the tribute is growing every year for Jesse and Daniel McMillan, his good friend. We both lost so many years ago. So there's just not another event that we cover as far as the Lucas Oil ASCS that's bigger than this one. And I'll include Knoxville in it. Right now, when you talk in terms of the number of cars that show up at this event and the dirt track nationals, we got the short track nationals coming up right now. But right now, I'm going to be honest with you, this event stands above them all.
Yeah, I would probably concur with that, Kirk. I think so as well. I mean, you sit here and you look at it. We had 68 ASCS wing 360 sprint cars the first night, 61 Lucas Oil POWRi war cars the first night. I think they're both still in the 60s. I think we lost a few of the wing cars on the first night. I think we were down to 65 last night, still at 61 with the non-wing cars last night. So anytime you can have two classes and you have over 120 cars, that says a lot about the magnitude of the event itself.
Absolutely. And the non-wing action has been thrilling. Wesley Smith picking up a win last night, and that was some pretty good racing action as Smith had that number 44 car really working well last night all the way around that racetrack.
He really did. And Corey Schutte picked up the win on the first night, right? Beating Mario Klauser and Zach Dahm to the victory lane. It was good to see Casey Schumann back behind the wheel too, by the way, driving the 24X car. So really good to see him. But Wesley Smith, after picking up the victory, he did have a 14th place finish the first night. So
yeah, and it was just the opposite for Corey Schutte. He didn't have such a great night last night, as good as he was on Thursday night. But the biggest runner in that non-wing race last night was Justin Zimmerman, who came from 21st starting spot to 4th. So it was kind of fun watching him work his way up through the field.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. That was really good stuff, Kirk. And as you alluded to, the track conditions down here, though for a moment or two, it looked like it might take a little rubber. It might have taken a little bit last night. I didn't have a chance to talk to the drivers after the race last night, so I would imagine it was kind of patchy last night in areas. It might have laid down rubber all the way through. I don't know.
I don't know how you can avoid that, can you, Scott, with that many cars and that many races on one track and one night? I mean, to me, they did about as well as you could ever imagine that they could do with that many cars and that many races.
Well, I think it goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, Kirk. I believe that what they need to do, this is just an opinion, get the show over a little bit earlier. What did we get over the first night? About 1 o'clock?
Yeah, it was earlier last night.
Yeah.
And didn't have as many wrecks.
But my point is if you split the field, you run 30-some cars the first night on both classes, you get over about 11 o'clock, and then you do it again the next night. That sets the field, one half the field the first night, one half the field for the second night. And then you go on and you do your alphabet soup on Saturday, and I think that would be the way to go. To me, personally, I think it would be not that the racing has been bad, because it's been excellent. So don't take this in the wrong way, but I think it could even be better if you were to split up the field in two halves and run one half on Friday, or one half on Thursday, one half on Friday. I just think it would be better for the track conditions. The track won't give up if listen, if you're in one of these qualifiers, there's 5 qualifiers for the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. If you're in one of those qualifiers, you're starting at the back and you got a stacked qualifier. You're not going to pass a lot of cars. You're not going to get a lot of passing points, and that's what it's all about down here. Accumulating enough points to be the high point getter for the week. That way you know that you're going to get a great starting position before the race starts on Saturday. And right now, Derek Hagar is the point leader. He's got 343 points over Roger Crockett, who has 297, Howard Moore 289, Joe B. Miller 281, J.J. Hickel 273, Scott Pagusky 271, and rounding out the field, Jeremy Campbell has 269. Those guys are all locked in. Dylan Westbrook, he's also right there, 268 points. First guy outside looking in is Blake Hahn, 263.
And Dylan Westbrook had a much, much better night last night than he had the night before. I was talking about Matt Covington. You're talking about, working your way up through those qualifiers. Matt Covington had to make the top 2 in the 3rd B main last night. He fell 1 spot short of making the A main. He got in, I assume, on a provisional, Scott? But he ended up way back in 24th finishing position last night.
He did take a provisional last night, and it really hurt him in the chase for the championship after last night, Kirk Elliott. Blake Hahn, I don't know if you witnessed what happened to Blake the night before. Blake had to race his way in through the B, and he had to get around Ayrton Geniton and a lap car with 2 laps to go. He split those 2 cars, made a daring move, was able to get into the transfer spot. That put him at the back of the A main. He started 20th, and where did he finish? 7th. Hard charger of the night, Blake Hahn. Not the luck that he was hoping for last night. Unfortunately, late in the race, hit a Uke tire and drug the Uke tire to the infield. I didn't see where he ended up.
Blake came back from that and ended up in 12th last night. So I didn't see how he hit that tire. How'd that happen?
Most people didn't see it, Kurt. Anyway, you're right. He hit the Uke tire down in 1 and 2, and he center punched it and drug it down into the infield. You could tell by the body language of Blake inside the car that he was very frustrated that happened. He was ahead of Matt Covington, who did not make the A main, was going to just get 65 points for starting the feature. He was ahead of J.J. Hickle, which was a big deal because don't count out J.J. Hickle. He's still 102. Well, actually now J.J. Hickle's leapfrogged over Matt Covington. It's J.J. Hickle now second in points, and Matt Covington 102 points out of the lead. So we have had a change in the points position right now. J.J. Hickle currently 80 points behind. He has 3 wins this year, 21 top 5s, 28 top 10s. Against Blake Hahn's 6 victories, and Blake has 19 top 5s and 31 top 10s in 35 starts. So Blake Hahn 1 start more than everybody else. He's made every race this year. And now he has an 80-point lead over J.J. Hickle. By the way, did we mention that J.J. Hickle is a rookie with the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour? Not only is he going to win Rookie of the Year, but he's also got a chance to win the championship his rookie year, and that's never been done.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. To me, his real breakthrough was last year in that Speed Week win that he had at Lakeside Speedway. He really stood up strong then, and then he came back running the whole tour this year from the Pacific Northwest. He's really been solid the whole season.
Well, I think where it really set him up to be in the points championship is his 2 wins at Devil's Bowl Speedway to kick off the season.
Yeah. Yeah, he got off to a great start.
He went back to back and won those 2 races down there. And I think that's where he felt like, all right, I can do this. And he's had the confidence ever since. Now, listen, J.J. Hickle and his team, this is the last year they're going to be together as a team. J.J. Hickle does not have a ride for next year. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He's out here running with the national tour. His car owner said, what would you like to do your last year of us being car owners? He said, I'd like to run the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. They said, let's do it. And they've had a motorhome and a truck and a trailer and a spare trailer with all the spare parts in it running around the country. They haven't been home at all. They've been living out of that motorhome, and they are grinding it out, and it looks like it could pay off. He's 80 points out of the lead behind Blake Hahn. We'll have to see if he can reel him in. If there's anybody that could do it, J.J. Hickle could do it. He's always shows a lot of speed in his car, tons of speed in that car, week in and week out. The only other guy that's really that consistent is a Blake Hahn and a Dylan Westbrook. Matt Covington's been very steady, but it seems like Dylan Westbrook, since we were in the Pacific Northwest after we left up there at Elma, Washington, and up at Skagit, Washington, it seems like Dylan Westbrook has been the most consistent guy. But for whatever reason, he's not been able to reel in the points as much as he would like. He's 198 points out of the lead. He's 4th in the points right now. He's got 2 victories, 18 top 5s, 23 top 10s, and 33 starts. So we'll just have to see what Dylan Westbrook can put together. But since we've returned from the Pacific Northwest, Kirk, Westbrook has been the guy that's been really steady, running up towards the front week in and week out.
Hey, before we I know we got a break coming up here, but you were up at Clay County Fair in Spencer, Iowa on Tuesday night. Yeah. What a show that was. That track was in great shape, and what a finish for Matt Covington holding off Blake Hahn. That was some great racing up there at that county fair.
my first time up there to Spencer Speedway in Spencer, Iowa. That was on Tuesday night. It was a great night. Again, as you alluded to, Kirk, Matt Covington beating Blake Hahn for the victory up there. It was a great facility, a huge crowd. One of the biggest fairs in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right, Kurt?
Biggest county fair in the world. That's what I'm told.
Is that right? Well, we had a great time. They had a big crowd up there. The action was great. There's a couple things I'd like to see them do with that racetrack if we were to go back up there. Maybe have it a little better fencing. Maybe have a better flag stand so my friend Terry Maddox doesn't get in trouble.
What was that they're using? Some kind of a lift of some sort? That looked like a temporary thing to me.
It was temporary, and it was scary, just so you know.
It looked that way. I saw that.
It was scary. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's just like I told Terry. I said, how do you get away? You're up in a lift. A car comes up there and flips up there and hits you. You're just along for the ride at that point.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good scenario for the flagman. And
the front straightaway fencing, even though it was back away from the racetrack, probably 60, 70 feet, was temporary fencing. I just think that a car could go right through that like a hot knife through butter.
That was kind of strange the way they brought the cars out of the pits in front of the grandstand, between the grandstand and the track, and then out on the track heading into turn one. I've never seen that before.
And it was a strange deal, and the way they had to exit the track to go weigh the car was different too. But it was a good time up there, huge crowd. Hope we can get back up there and do it all again. Everybody up there was so nice to us, the people at Spencer, Iowa. So hopefully we'll get back up there. It was a huge crowd, and I'm sure everybody had a good time.
One other big event we're keeping tabs on, and I'm just going to briefly touch on it. The late model Knoxville Nationals is well underway right now. 100-lap feature tonight. Can anybody beat Tyler Erb? He swept the 2 preliminary nights up at Knoxville and looked pretty strong doing it. We've been monitoring that here for the last couple of days. We thought we were going to have Ryan Ragland up there covering it for us this weekend, but he had some family medical issues that he wasn't able to attend, so not able to get Ryan's reports from Knoxville, but looking forward to the 100-lap feature tonight. We'll see if Erb can sweep the weekend. Kyle Larson was up there on Thursday night and came out of Thursday with the points lead, but guess what? He can't run tonight because, he's got a prior commitment at Bristol tonight. So anyway, we're covering that too.
I want to throw one more thing out there before we go to break. There is a fierce point battle in the Racing Boys ASCS Warrior Region. Gunnar Ramey, Austin O'Neill in a fierce battle. Austin O'Neill's picked up 1 victory this year. Gunnar Ramey has not. Austin O'Neill, 15 points out of the lead. Keep an eye on what happens here tonight, folks, because there could be a big implication on who picks up the Racing Boys ASCS Warrior Region. Right now, Gunnar Ramey has a 15-point lead over Austin O'Neill. So let's keep an eye on that battle.
There's one more race coming up on Saturday, October 9th, and we'll have that live on Race Boys at Lake Ozark Speedway, the finale for the Race Boys ASCS Warrior Region. We'll have it live.
Yeah. And Paxton Gregory has a 17-point lead over Landon Crawley in the Sooner region. So keep an eye on that one as well. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, our friend Junior Parkinson is going to talk about our late great friend Rayleigh Goodwin, who passed away this week. Rayleigh Goodwin, one of the great guys in motorsports, the 1968 Knoxville Nationals champion. We're going to talk to Junior Parkinson next, right here on Lucas Oil Products Track Talk.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One with a preview of Sunday Night Football. It's an AFC matchup that rarely disappoints as Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens host Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Both opened the season with tough games. For KC, it was a come-from-behind victory over the Browns, and Mahomes says that was a great way to start the season.
It's week 1. I mean, obviously that's a really good football team. We had to battle and find a way to get a win. But a lot of things happen during the season. I think week 1 is important because you want to win a game against a team that you think has a chance to be in the playoffs and you think you do. So this could matter at the end of the season.
The Ravens lost their week 1 game at the Raiders in an overtime thriller. Now they face back-to-back AFC champion Kansas City. Ryan Radke and Ross Tucker will have the call from Baltimore on Sunday Night Football.
Remember to listen to Westwood One's coverage of the NFL all season long. Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly. It's O Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts, where you can earn double, triple, even up to 5 times O Rewards points on select purchases. Get bonus points on more than 200 items throughout the store, like wiper blades, fuel system cleaners, motor oil, and more. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
All right, we're back in 1 minute,
gentlemen.
One
of the main reasons for poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas Fuel Treatment to your vehicle, it cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system. Pump, carburetors, fuel injectors, and valves as you drive. It also improves your vehicle's performance. It's a non-solvent product designed to protect both gasoline and diesel engines. Lucas Fuel Treatment. It works.
Looking for insider info, top football picks, and the latest game predictions? Then tune in for The Fine Line with Joe Wiz. Joe looks at the biggest matchups of the week. The Wiz breaks down all the games and helps turn picks into profits. That's The Fine Line with Joe Wiz this weekend.
Listen Sundays at 7 a.m. right here on 810 WHB. Presented by Bet River Sportsbook.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Scott Trailer again. I'm at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, where it's night number 3 of the 11th annual Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. You can watch it all live on Racing Boys tonight. We had some technical issues last night, but you can watch the replay if you're an all-access member on RacingBoys.tv. It is up. You can go watch it. It's all there in its entirety. We're sorry about the glitch last night, but we think we know what the problem is, and we're going to have that hopefully fixed today. All right, let's bring on our first guest of the show today. He's a great friend of the Racing Boys. We always enjoy talking to one of the legends of sprint car racing in our area, and this man is a legend, and we're going to bring him in to talk about one of the great legends of all time, Ray Lee Goodwin. Junior Parkinson joins us now. Junior, how you doing?
Hi, Scott. How you and Kurt doing?
We're doing
well.
We're sad. We're sad we don't have Ray Lee with us anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you, it was it's been a sad few days. I was there at the funeral. Of course, Kurt, you were too. And Ray Lee, in the last 3 years or so, we've between him and Heavy, Raymond McNish, those two were joined at the hip. But
yeah.
Tommy Clear and Ron Coble and Lyle Farron. I mean, we were just peas in a pod. Every time there was a race or something going on, we were always together and laughing and cutting up and telling stories. And it was, or on the phone, it was just always fun. And it was a sad time. Sad. It's been a really sad.
Well, and unfortunately, the word didn't get out that. I had to set up down here for the race on Thursday. We raced on Tuesday night up there. We drove all night to get home on Wednesday, and then I had to be down here Thursday to set up. To be honest with you, it pained me to no end not to go to Ray Lee's visitation. It bothered me to no end. He's a great guy, a great ambassador to the sport, the 1968 Knoxville Nationals Championship. Tell us what you know about 1968 and Ray Lee Goodwin winning that championship up there at Knoxville.
My dad and I were up here running the fair days. We still lived in Texas, and I was still in high school. and we got to know Ray Lee when we started coming up here in the late '60s, mid '60s, and Ray Lee, he never met a stranger. He to this day he could walk in a room and start shaking hands, and he introduced himself as Ray Goodwin. And
so true.
Never said anything about being a race car driver or anything, but he just wanted to just talk to people and just didn't care who they were, what they were, just say hello and introduce himself and make conversation. He was that kind of person. But as far as a race car driver being around him, he always tried to help, always wanted to help, and whatever you needed, he didn't care. He always tried to help you or took you to somebody that would help you, and he was one of those guys. Never boasted about what he did. I know he told Heavy. He was a Raymond McNish, used to help Bill Lutz years ago, but he never once sat around and talked about his accomplishments in racing or being a Knoxville champion or being whatever. And Heavy asked, he said, well, why not? He said, well, I didn't want to boast about it. He said, those other guys are racing too. He said, I don't want to make them think I'm boasting about beating them. And I always thought that was pretty cool to be that way. Just wanted to be a racer, and it wasn't trying to be anything other than just a good person.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about Ray, I think that you touched on there a little bit, is he kind of, don't take this in the wrong way, but, I travel with a guy that has never met a stranger. His name's Scotty Cook. Oh, and Ray Lee Goodwin is no Scotty Cook by no means. But the point is that Ray could walk in a room and take over a room of strangers. Nobody would even know who he is. But when he walked in, the charisma that he carried with him and his persona and his confidence as a person, when he walked in a room, he could just take over any room, couldn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he made the room when he walked in. Everybody picked up and looked, and they wanted to know what was going on and what was happening, and it livened up the room a lot.
Junior, let me ask you a question about that 1968 Knoxville Nationals Championship. Outside of that national championship, talk about Ray Lee Goodwin as a driver and the accomplishments that he had. Because, back in the day when you guys were racing and your dad was racing, it's far different times than it is right now.
Well, absolutely. I mean, things now, of course, you got the internet and the cell phones and stuff back then. Mm-hmm. But we didn't have that stuff. What we had was a Speed Sport News. And you had to depend on word of mouth and long-distance phone calls to find out what was going on. And Ray Lee was one of those guys, like a lot of us back in that day. You race on 400 miles from home on Sunday night, and you jumped in the truck and took off to go home and worked Monday morning. And I know when I moved up here, I got a job working, and my dad moved up here in 71, and Ray Lee was working at a warehouse down with Sutcliffe and down in North Kansas City, and my dad went and got a job, and I went and got a job there, and Ray Lee got us all on there, and he went out of his way to tell the guy that we were good workers and got us on there, and it was just he just never could do enough for you. And as far as racing, when he was at a racetrack, he wasn't solemn and trying to hide anything from anybody. He wanted, if you were having a problem, he'd come down and try to help you figure it out. Like I say, or he'd bring somebody with him that could at least get you lined out so you weren't making bad moves and all over the place and trying to was a problem. He was always trying to help people. And I remember that the Nationals that year, I was sitting down with him and Gary just watching, and they were just working their rears off and not, people would come up and talking, and of course, Gary was busy working, but Ray, people come up and want to talk about this or talk about that, about the racetrack. Ray Lee was always, he'd stop and tell you what he thought and what he knew, and drivers used to walk down in the turn and look at the racetracks, and you could ask him questions, and he'd tell you exactly what he thought. And there was no animosity toward anybody about racing. He wanted to help everybody, and he didn't care who you were.
And the fans absolutely loved him too, and I know this because I grew up watching him. He was just so fan-friendly and so open with the race fans. After the races, you go down there, and he would greet everybody. But just his whole persona, and I didn't really know him back when I was rooting for him, but he exuded that even if you'd never met him. But he's one of these race car drivers that turned out to be far better as a person when you meet him than you ever imagined him to be. That's the greatest tribute I could give to Ray Lee Goodwin.
Yeah, Lyle Ferrin tells the story when he was just a young kid, because Lyle Ferrin is Wes Ferrin's nephew. Wes Ferrin was a legend around here, and him and Ray Lee were good buddies. And Lyle's done Olympic one night. Of course, the driver, you had to go off the racetrack to get to the concession stand, and Lyle's uncle won a heat race or won the trophy dash or something. And Ray Lee walked through the gate, and Lyle was standing there with his cousin. He said, "Look, Ferrin," he said, "You just won that race." He said, "Congratulations," and shook his hand. And he knew who he was. He shook his hand and walked off, and Lyle said, "That was pretty cool." He said, "I'm 10, 11 years old," and he said, he come up and talked to me like he knew who I was. And he said he'll never forget that. And that's just the way Ray Lee was.
He did remember people. I want to talk about those last two crashes that he had up there, and I was around back then. He took one of the most wicked crashes down the back straightaway at Knoxville I think anybody ever has. He had one bad wreck in 1974, recovered from that, and back and 1 year later, it was the crash that really forced him to retire at the age of 35. Just kind of talk about those two instances there, because very easily could have lost his life in either one of those crashes.
Yeah, the second one especially. The second was really bad. The first one was, I don't remember how it happened. I was told about it. I was in Pennsylvania racing, but they were talking about it and how bad it was, and I never saw any pictures or anything. But I was talking to Gary Swinton at the funeral about what this stuff was going on, and he said that was one of the worst nights of his life when that happened. And of course Ray Lee recovered and went on, was having another good year. He's having another good year in '75, and then the one in '75, they said it flipped darn near completely down the back straightaway, and they after it was the end of the crash, they said they didn't give him two hopes to get that he was okay, and he did survive, but he, like I say, he did. I know it caused some bad problems with his eyes. He never could see very good, but after that, he couldn't hardly see at all, and his eyes got a little better over the years. But that wreck right there, from what I was told about it, that was one of the most vicious wrecks I'd ever seen.
I got to attribute that as just the good Lord was looking down. I mean, any other driver we could have lost, but think of what happened after that for Ray Lee Goodwin and how much he touched people's lives after that incident. It's incredible.
Well, after that, most people after they get through racing, you and I talked about this, Kurt. If they get through racing, they don't want to be around. They don't want to go watch. They don't want to be involved too much. But Ray Lee kind of took it as, well, okay, now I need to be an ambassador, and I guess that's the way he took it. And he just became like just an ambassador to racing. He just could not be out front more than what he was. I know when we at the Nationals, when we do our autograph session, he was always talking to people, and people would come up, and I always like to sit next to him, and people would just talk about how much they enjoyed him and how much they just enjoyed being around him. Not so much as a race car driver, they say, but just being around him and how full of life he was, and just being a great person and an ambassador to racing.
Junior, he's one of those kind of people that you can say, I knew Ray Lee, and take a lot of pride in it.
Well, I know a lot of race car drivers, and a lot of them are very, very good friends of mine. But I have to say, Ray Lee and I were, of course, when I lived up north, I only lived a few blocks from him, and I got to know him really well. And he just was just a great person to be around. and always had a good attitude, and no matter what, he always, very seldom was he down in the dumps about anything.
And I'm sure I have a card somewhere laying around in my house that says, "Hey" by Ray.
You need hay, call Ray.
Call Ray. That's what it says. Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Every time we drive by a field or somewhere, I said, "Hey Ray, there's some hay over there." He said, "Yeah, you need some, I'll get it." Yeah.
Right.
So the card said, "Need hay, call Ray." Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Before we let you go, Junior, I want to give you the last words about Rayleigh Goodwin and what he meant to the racing community, and as a friend to you and all the old timers out there that he represented. I'll give you the last word.
Well, like I said Thursday there, I buried my mom, buried my dad, and been to a lot of funerals for race car drivers, but this and friends, and this was Thursday was pretty tough. It was a pretty tough day, and and I've talked to Heavy and Lyle and Ron Coble. We've talked every day, and it just it's like now it's going to go to a race, and it's going to be tough to be there, and Rayleigh's not there. It's just because he was always so much fun and always liked to talk and visit, and it's just going to be a little tough.
Yeah.
But
all right, Junior. Well, we love you, Junior, and we appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. You're always gracious with your time, and
thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll be thinking about Rayleigh for many years to come.
Yeah, great job.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Junior.
All right,
Bye.
Junior.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Hall of Famer Junior Parkinson right there. So,
yeah, there's one last thing. Isn't that the greatest? I mean, he teaches us all how to treat people. Rayleigh Goodwin is an inspiration to all, in my opinion, of how you treat people. And you get it coming back. If you give it, you're going to get it coming back. That's Rayleigh Goodwin.
Yep, I concur. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the general manager of Lucas Oil Speedway will join me right here in the Racing Boys production trailer at Lucas Oil Speedway next on Track Talk.
Hi, I'm Steve Hedgepath with Quad Power Products, your trusted source for hydraulics, pneumatics, standard and metric fittings and adapters, and industrial hose. Plus, we have a full-service cylinder repair shop. Come see us on Hickman Mills Drive in South Kansas City, or call and speak with one of our knowledgeable sales staff at 816-965-8925. Find us on the web at quadfluidpower.com. Quad Power Products. We've been solving our customers' fluid power problems over 25 years.
There is less than 1/100th of an inch of motor oil protecting your car's engine. Friction and heat causes engine oil to experience thermal breakdown, weakening its ability to protect the engine and its parts. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer is specially formulated to resist thermal breakdown, protect vital engine parts, and extend the life of your engine. It also stops smoking, knocking, and oil consumption in worn engines. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer. Keep that engine alive.
This is Chad with 810. Losing weight sucks. At least it did before I got help from Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness. I met with Dr. Kapoor, and he's got me on a program that's finally working. I'm not hungry, I'm not cranky, and I've lost over 20 pounds in just 6 weeks. Their team is easy to work with, and it's not just a pill, it's weight loss coaching, and it works. Check them out at shamantotalwellness.com or call 913-227-9150. Remember, life is better with the feather.
As your power steering pump ages, seal leaks may occur, causing the power steering system to lose fluid. Your power steering system may also develop an annoying squeal, and the steering may become more difficult to handle. By using Lucas Power Steering Stop Leak, you will stop the seal leaks, reduce slack in rack and pinion, eliminate the squeals and hard spots in your power steering system. It is guaranteed to stop seal leaks or your money back. Lucas Power Steering Stop Leak. It works.
Well, you know what they say, less is more. Unless they're talking about Lucas Wine and Spirit Superstore. At Lucas, more is less. With
Got about 50 seconds. You guys will have a little over 11 minutes here in this segment.
Wine and spirits in a week, as some stores sell in
Thank you, guys.
That's how Lucas can sell it all for less. much less. Come choose from literally thousands of craft beers, hard-to-find wines, craft whiskeys, and exotic spirits. Explore it all with expert help in person or explore online at lucaskc.com, where that incredible selection is all available to order for curbside pickup. And if you live in Missouri, they can even deliver it right to your door. Lucas Wine and Spirits Superstore. In the Northland, just west of Liberty and 152 in Flintlock. In Overland Park, near 119th
10 seconds.
And in South KC at 135th and State Line.
Lucas Wine and Spirits Superstore. In the glass by itself.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio. It's all brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Made in America, sold to the world. We want to thank Forrest Lucas and everybody at Lucas Oil for their continued support now, over 11 years supporting the Racing Boys. And we're at Lucas Oil Speedway, the Diamond of Dirt Tracks here in Wheatland, Missouri. And who better to have on than our old friend Danny Lorton, who is the general manager of the racetrack down here now, taking over for Dan Robinson. And Danny, how you doing today? You said that it looks like they didn't go too hard out in the parking lot last night.
No, I kind of drove around here a little bit, and I know we'd had some after parties, but the teams have been doing pretty good keeping it cleaned up down there, so you can kind of tell where some of the parties were at.
You know, when this race first started here at Lucas Oil Speedway, there were some trials and tribulations of trying to get everything, but it seems like you guys really got a good handle on this racetrack now.
Yeah, we're getting better, and I got to give props to my track crew. Richard and Larry, they've done a pretty good job. I said 2 nights in a row, we've had some good racing drivers. Are all pleased with track conditions, so hopefully we can repeat again tonight.
Yeah. You know, Kirk and I were talking about just a little bit ago that this particular race has grown to such magnitude. We sit here and we look at Knoxville Nationals, Dirt Cup, Short Track Nationals, and I think you got to put this Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial right below the Knoxville Nationals. I think it's leapfrogged over the Short Track Nationals down at I-30 Speedway in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I only say that because the quantity of cars has kind of deteriorated a little bit down there at Short Track Nationals. And at the 360 Nationals, let's be fair. We play second fiddle to the 410s up there at 360 Nationals. At this event, the number one attraction is the non-wing, the POWRi non-wing cars, as well as the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. It is a true 360 show, and we're rewarded each year by having nearly, 68 cars, I think it was, wing cars this year, 61 non-wing cars. That's a staggering amount of cars.
Yes, it is. Like I say, just the few years that I've been here, I've watched them grow over, and especially the non-wing cars. I mean, that car count is just phenomenally growing every year. It just, who would have thought you'd have this many cars here?
You know, I was down in the pits, and I was talking to several people. And I think it was a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was, but I think the non-wing guys split their field. You know, we have to run a little bit later. And I know that most of the people that are here at the racetrack right now are people that are camping here. That's what's so cool about this event, right? But have you ever thought about splitting the fields for night 1, night 2, and then do the alphabet soup on Saturday night?
That's been talk. I know we've tried to speed the program up, get it out earlier, but like you just said, I've had even drivers this weekend kind of mention maybe see if we can go back to that format. So that'd be something I'll have to run past old Dan and see what he thinks. But yeah, that'd be something we may have to look at.
I know that you've got a big event coming up here, the USRA Nationals that is going to be taking place down here. Talk a little bit about that event, because that could be maybe one of your biggest events of the year.
Yeah, I mean, just I think right now when I talked to Todd the other day, it was like 284 pre-registered cars already. But it's October 7th through the 9th. It's the USRA Nationals. We'll have the modifieds, B-mods, stock cars, hobby stocks, and the four-cylinder tuners that run here, which they've never been on this track before. So it's going to be, I mean, I'm kind of ranking it right up there with Show Me if it don't get bigger than that, probably. Eventually.
Well, if it gets bigger than the Show Me, that's pretty big. And also, I know that you got a big tractor pull event coming up.
Yep, that's next weekend. We got next Friday and Saturday. We got truck and tractor pulls here on the infield.
How's it been? I can't remember how many years you've been down here. It seems like it's 3 or 4 years now. But are you enjoying your position as the general manager down here and taking charge? I know Dan handed over a lot of responsibilities to you, and from everything that I see, you're doing a great job with it. But what has been the number one surprise for you as the new general manager the last few years here at Lucas Oil Speedway?
I think it would be the support that I've gotten from everybody. Mainly, just I say from taking over for Dan, that was some big shoes to fill, and the way he did things around here was great. And I'm just trying to keep up the same scenario what he had, and just the support I'm getting from everybody. Just it felt pretty good to know that I had all the people behind me, just like he did.
Right. How often does Forrest make it down to the racetrack? Does he make it over here much anymore?
Yeah, last couple of years he hasn't been around as much as he has, but usually, the show me. Sometimes he comes for the truck and tractor pull, bull ride, stuff like that. Yeah, 2 or 3 times a year he tries to make an appearance here, and there's sometimes he's here, but not at the racetrack.
I don't think people realize what Forrest has done for this county down here. I mean, he's really sunk his teeth into it. He's bought a lot of land. He's got a lot of cattle. What has Forrest Lucas meant to this county?
Yeah, just about anything. Every time you go somewhere or see anything, it's something that since Forrest has been here, it's kind of helped improve the county. And even talking to the people in the county, they come by, thank us. Even though we have late nights, sometimes we get a little complaints, but they're all understanding. It's all in support for the county itself. So, yeah, there's full support for him. And like I say, Forrest, family man, so he tries to do everything he can.
Before we let you get out of here and we wrap up the show, I'd like to give you a moment to tell anything that you'd like to let anybody know about the racetrack, what's coming up, and maybe even a thank you or two to the people that have showed up here this weekend, because let me tell you, huge crowd down here this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Like I say, each night the fan base gets bigger. Last night was a better crowd than what we had Thursday night. Tonight we should be even huger. So, like I say, just thank all the fans that come out. Thank all the drivers and teams for supporting us. It's, like I say, as far as what events we got coming up, like I said, we got the truck pulls coming up next weekend, then we're off the first week in October, then we come back with the Nationals. Then I'm off again another week, and then we end the season with Monster Trucks on October 23rd.
So it never ends down here at Lucas Oil Speedway. You've always got something to do. And people think that when the racing season's over, that's when you get a time to relax. But that's really when the work begins, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's actually, I get busier after season. It seems like.
I think we're all that way in the motorsports business. Danny, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know you got a lot of stuff going on out there, a lot of people waiting on you to take your leadership and run this thing tonight. I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with you. You've always been really good to the Racing Boys. We respect that, and we're looking forward to a third and great night here tonight with the 11th annual Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial.
Yeah, and thank you for help supporting us all, being here and everything like that. It shows a lot.
Yeah. Okay, well, there you have it. That's Danny Lorton. Kirk, he is a good guy, and we've been very lucky to have great relationships with all the people that have been down here in charge of Lucas Oil Speedway going back to the early days. But Danny has been really good to us, and he's been a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, it's they've done a great job down there, and it's hard to believe how long Lucas Oil Speedway has been there. We remember the old Wheatland Speedway before it turned into Lucas Oil Speedway, but and I
it's
remember
not the old Wheatland, that's for sure.
That's right. But the thing I'll always remember was before the track was built, I had talked with Forrest Lucas at the drag races at Topeka, and I said, so you got some big plans on this racetrack. He sat down, I never will forget this, took a napkin and penciled out his idea of what he wanted that track to be. And he said,
Kirk,
this
you
is going
should
to
have
be
kept that napkin.
This is going to be the great, I should have, but I did. He wrote it on a napkin there, and it stayed right there, and I got up and left. But he said, this is going to be the greatest dirt track in America. And
it is.
He was
it
so
is
right
the Diamond
about
and
that.
Dirt Tracks. Yeah, no doubt, Kirk. It is the nicest facility. I travel from east to west all over this country, from north to south, everywhere in between. There's no place like Lucas Oil Speedway. It's second to none. I mean, there's some nice racetracks out there. Huset's nice. Jackson Motorplex is nice. There's some really nice facilities. But there's nothing like Lucas Oil Speedway down here in Wheatland, Missouri, out in the middle of nowhere. I think the population down here is like 600. So, and they got one little hotel down here that holds, I think it's got like 8 or 9 rooms. So the Wheatland Inn. If you ever need it, you better book it in advance because that baby's always full.
And it, by the way, Lucas Oil Speedway was the scene of, I think, the best dirt track pre-race pageantry that I have seen in a long time, when Lee Greenwood showed up and sang live the God Bless the USA right before the Show Me 100.
Lee Greenwood singing God Bless USA here in Wheatland.
Yeah.
That had to be one of the highlights.
That was cool. So anyway, it's just a great facility, and the one thing I've not seen yet is the action on the road, the road. What do you call it? The off-road course. That's the only thing I've not seen any. That's the only thing that I've not seen any competition on yet. So I can't wait to get down there.
Well, the one thing that I've missed out on, and I'm going to get down here next year to do it, because my goals are to maybe get off the road a little bit after this year. And if that is the case, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to watch me some drag boat racing, because that's what I've been wanting to do.
I have seen the drag boats on occasion down there. It's got to be, you can't have any wind when you have those drag boats on there, but it's a pretty cool place to it. By the way, before we go, Anthony Macri won the All-Stars at Williams Grove last night, holding off Lance DeWeese and Brent Marks. Brian Brown ended up 6th, and also Tanner Thorson wins the non-wing sprints at Circle City Raceway in
90
Indianapolis
seconds
last night.
All right. Well, hey, Kirk, let's let everybody know what we got going on our broadcast tonight.
All right, we got one broadcast tonight. That's the final night of the Jesse Hawk and Daniel McMillan Memorial. It all starts a half hour earlier than the previous two nights. Hot laps are going to get underway at about 5:30 tonight, so tune in early, as we've got full night of racing coming out. A little different format. It's not really the alphabet. So they got a series of last chance races before the A mains tonight.
Yeah. That's correct, Kirk. So it's going to be a good one. We hope that everybody tune in. We hope to have all of our problems that we had last night fixed today. I think we got a handle on what happened last night. So, and if you want to go back and watch the A main from last night, you can do so on racingboys.tv. For Kirk Elliott back at the Racing Boys HQ, along with Adam Bartlett, Todd Surprise. And who was our guy back there at 8:10 today?
30.
Marco, good job today, buddy. We appreciate it. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 is coming up. You can watch it on our Facebook page. You can watch it on Twitter, YouTube, as well as our website, racingboys.tv. For Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right around the corner, hour number 2.
Thank you guys so much. It's always a pleasure with you two.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Margaret.
You guys as well. Have a good second hour.
Thank you.
You want it?
Down,
we have it at Amini's.
All right, buddy. Anytime you need something, all you got to do is just ask.
That's why Lucas Oil takes automotive protection so seriously. Lucas heavy-duty oil stabilizer bonds with motor oil to shield engines from heat and wear. So take pride in caring for your car and pass that pride and knowledge to the next generation for years of smooth, reliable driving on the long road ahead. Trust Lucas Oil. It works.
For poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas Fuel Treatment to your vehicle, it cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system, pump, carburetors, fuel injectors, and valves as you drive. It also improves your vehicle's performance. It's a non-solvent product designed to protect both gasoline and diesel engines. Lucas Fuel Treatment. It works.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Stewart Specialty Sportswear in-house. We do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other ad specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
There is less than 1/100th of an inch of motor oil protecting your car's engine. Friction and heat causes engine oil to experience thermal breakdown, weakening its ability to protect the engine and its parts. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer is specially formulated to resist thermal breakdown, protect vital engine parts, and extend the life of your engine. It also stops smoking, knocking, and oil consumption in worn engines. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer. Keep that engine alive.
Alumatech Products is the premier aluminum cabinet company as well as custom aluminum trailer manufacturer. They specialize in custom cabinetry and production units. All the cabinets are built in-house by exceptional craftsmen. Alumatech Products also offer truck caps that are built from the ground up, starting with a framework all the way to a complete build. The folks at Alumatech are driven to produce quality, long-lasting products through innovative design to best suit you. For more information, go to alumatechproducts.com.
Missouri's must play getaway. Osage National Golf Resort.
3 9-hole courses to choose from at the Lake of the Ozarks in the Osage River Valley. Stay and play packages in our first-class condos. A beautiful clubhouse complete with pro shop and exercise facilities. A large pool for relaxation and families. The Eagle View Sports Bar and Grill. Great wedding facilities. Go online and make your tee time today.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, SprintCarStuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
We not only look to the future, we design it. Our excellence and professionalism in craftsmanship, quality, and safety is unmatched in the industry. We are proud suppliers to some of the most elite race teams in the world. We build it, you drive it. We are here to help you win.
Next to your vehicle's engine, your transmission is the most important component of your car. If it's not properly maintained, your car may not shift properly. By adding Lucas Transmission Fix to your transmission, it cleans and lubricates sticking valves for proper shifting, renews worn bands to stop slipping, stops seal leaks, will not void new car warranties, contains no harmful solvents. Lucas Transmission Fix. It works.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you're listening to Racing Boys, and if you ain't listening to them, you get out of the country because you're a communist. I love the Racing Boys. Like Mater says, they make me happier than a tornado in a trailer park. You know, the funny thing about that is the Larry voice and the Mater voice are exactly the same. Get her done!
Welcome to Hour 2 of Track Talk on the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. Brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Made in America, sold to the world. Here again are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back. It's Track Talk, hour number 2, and it's all brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Todd, if you can move my camera down just a little bit so I can see the screen. It's all brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world, and we are at the house that Forrest Lucas built. That's right. We are here live at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, the diamond of dirt tracks, the most beautiful racetrack in the country, folks. And I don't say that because Lucas Oil is our sponsor. I say that because, quite honestly, it's the most beautiful track in the country, isn't it, Kirk Elliott?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I don't know how you can argue any different. So, I mean, there's a lot of great racetracks out there we go to. But, you talk about the paved pit area and just all the amenities that go along with this racetrack. It just most of the dirt tracks don't have.
It really, Kirk, it is about the amenities.
Yeah.
We've got a large area for camping. We've got an adult bar, a kids bar, a merchandise area, paved pits. You've got an off-road, state-of-the-art off-road course for off-road racing. You've got a state-of-the-art drag boat lake out back. I mean, it has everything. It would take a huge act of nature to cancel a race here because the paved pits, the way the infield is for the push vehicles, it's just everything about it's been well thought out. Stadium seating in front of the suites. There's probably 25 or 30 suites up there. It has everything that a major league stadium would have. Maybe not in the masses of an Arrowhead Stadium or something like that, but it has all of that and more. And Forrest Lucas, we've got to be very thankful that he decided to build this in this little sleepy town down here in Wheatland, Missouri, where there was a little dumpy ass track that he decided to build into this multi-million-dollar motorsports complex that people drive and fly from all around the world to come and see, because this is what motorsports is all about. They do everything here from tractor pulls, off-road racing, drag boat racing, monster trucks. They do everything here, and they do it first class all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what more can be said? I mean, it just and they've got this USRA Nationals you touched on with Danny Lorton here a few minutes ago.
Yeah. October 7th through the 9th.
And that's a great place to have that event. With all
and
those
that's going to be a pretty good. That's going to be a pretty good ticket too, Kirk. I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The first 2 days, it's a $20 ticket, and the final day is $25 ticket. And they've got some senior discounts, military discounts, and I think youths from 6 to 15 get in for $10. Family passes, they got some kind of family pass that's $60. A pit pass is $40. So come on down. Listen, the amount of cars they're going to have for that USRA Nationals is going to be off the chart, folks. And what better place to have it? This is Boone, Iowa. This is Lucas Oil Speedway.
Yeah, it's just the size of the pit area.
There, Kurt?
The size of the pit area and everything about it can accommodate an event of this type, probably as well as any place. I know, Boone covers a lot of ground, but not a facility like this one, that's for sure.
Yeah. I want to say hi to our friend Kenny up there in Wisconsin Dells, who's listening into the show. Rick down in Florida listening in. Also, Frogman listening into the show this morning. Tulsa Ray is listening to the show. We also got people listening up in South Dakota. Jerome, how you doing? Welcome to the show. We appreciate you listening in. Tim from Iowa City is also watching the show this morning, so we want to thank those as well for tuning into the show. Kirk, I got to talk a little bit about our local level racing. Big news this week. Central Missouri Speedway, from what you've told me, I haven't read the press release. I should have, but I haven't. They are going to drop the A-mods next year. Is that correct?
That is correct. No more A-mod class for Central Missouri Speedway. And they said it was a tough decision to make because that was supposed to be the home of the mighty modified Central Missouri Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're paying out about a weekly purse of $7,000 in that class. and they felt that they weren't getting the car count to substantiate that. And the number of people, as they described, weren't coming in like they used to support that class, so they're going to drop it. Now, they went to the NASCAR sanction along with Lakeside Speedway at the beginning of this past year, and they thought that would help them out in that regard. But it's that way most everywhere as far as weekly tracks are concerned. With the A-mods, the car counts are not what they used to be. The B-mod class has grown, but car counts in the A-mod class at most weekly racetracks are not what they used to be.
Let's be fair, Kurt. Modified fans, don't hate on me for this. But modified racing it's dying. Modified racing is getting so expensive, you might as well own a sprint car or a late model. Because I see what people spend on these modifieds. It's unfreaking believable the amount of money that people are spending on modifieds. Rick Beebe. I love Rick Beebe. He's one of my all-time great friends, right? I don't know what kind of car it was, but he bought it. It's got like 170 laps on it, right? A used race car with no motor, no transmission, I believe it was. $35,000. $35,000. MB Custom Cars. $36,000 for a roller. Now you got to buy a $25,000 engine. Then you got to buy shocks. You got to buy a transmission, clutch, and all the other stuff that goes with it. The cost of modified racing has got out of hand. And it's showing up. People originally thought, you know what, I'll get out of the A-mod, I'll go B-mod racing.
B-mods are not cheap.
Newsflash, B-mods now are not cheap. And guys are dipping down as far as E-mods to race so they can afford to do it. The cost of modified racing is out of control. Period. And listen, if you don't think it's not because, listen, USMTS, what did they have, Kirk? 30 races this year, and they paid $10,000 to win each one of them?
Yeah, about have to pay that much money, have to raise the purse in order to still get these guys to come out there and run these events.
No, Kirk. That's backwards thinking. Because when you pay $10,000 to win, you're going to get professional race car drivers to come in and try to win that money. And when you bring in professional race car drivers, they're going to bring in the most sophisticated race car money can buy.
Well, isn't that the way it always works? I mean, anytime somebody's throwing up a bunch of money at special events, and I'm talking even bigger money than what they're doing here, it's always brought in late model guys.
Now, doesn't that hurt modified racing when you pay that much? Listen, when I used to race a big race for the year, paid $1,000 to win. The Pepsi Challenge, I think it was called, out at Lakeside Speedway back in the day, a sportsman race. It was the biggest race of the year. And damn near every time Kenny King would win that race. I don't know how he did it, but he always managed to win that race. And the deal about that was it was the biggest race of the year. You got a nice big trophy out of it, and you won the Pepsi race. And you could hang your hat on that for the year. When you put up big money, you bring in professional race car drivers, and professional race car drivers bring in professional race cars. And it drives the little guy out of business. You want to kill modified racing? Keep paying $10,000 to win. You want to get modified racing? Listen, I don't know if you can put smoke back in the cigarette or not. I don't know if you can do it. I don't even think it can be done, to be honest with you.
I don't either. We
I'm
got
pretty confident.
about...
I'm pretty confident that it's going to be hard to put the smoke back in the cigarette.
I agree with you. That we got an argument about this last week, wasn't it? I said I don't think you're going to be able to reduce the costs anymore. It is what it is. I hate to be pessimistic in that way, but I just don't. I don't think you can put the toothpaste back in the tube either.
You know what I see in the future, Kurt? I see only touring A-Mod series, and that's it. A-Mod racing dead on the vine all the way across the board at every racetrack.
Well, as far as a weekly program, it's, they're falling by the wayside. And to guess what? I expect Lakeside Speedway. I haven't got any inside information in this, but I would not be a bit surprised if Lakeside Speedway drops the A-Mod class at some point. I'm not saying it's going to be next year, but, they're not getting great car counts either.
Well, I mean, could you blame them?
No.
Could you blame any racetrack that has $4,000 or $5,000 committed to a class and you're getting 12 cars?
Now, will that help their crowd draw? I don't think so. There's a downside to this, dropping the A-Mod class, because you're dropping really a headliner division when you do that.
I got a solution to that. I think what you do at Lakeside Speedway, I'm only speaking of Lakeside Speedway, you bring in the late models. Lakeside Speedway, Kirk, when I was growing up, was a late model racetrack.
But you still have to pay out a big purse for the late models. Yeah, you're not gaining anything by bringing in a cheaper class of cars.
Kurt, take the same purse that you had for the modifieds, pay the late models, and see if they show up.
I don't think that advances the cause at all, doing that.
Well, me personally, I think you'll get more fans come out and watch late models than you will modified racing. You got 3 freaking classes of modifieds. How much modified racing do you want? You got A, B, E. Come on, man. Really?
I do agree with you there. That is a redundancy that I don't like in a weekly program. And I always agreed with Mark Olson's philosophy when he was the promoter at Lakeside Speedway. He owned it, promoted Lakeside Speedway. He didn't want classes that looked the same. He believed in 3 classes of cars that all look different from one another. Far too many tracks run multiple classes, and those cars all look the same.
Or 2 or 3 street stock classes.
Yeah. And you can't tell
3 modified classes.
You can't tell one street stock class from another. Now you can't tell one modified class from another.
Only if you're a weekly guy do you really know the difference.
Right.
If you roll into a racetrack and you're not listening to the announcer per se, that you're probably going to get lost in the sea of modifieds. I'm just telling you, man. I hate to say it, but the world of outlaws of modifieds, and we all know who that is, right? USMTS. They're the best of the best. There's no question that USMTS is the best of the best. Now, granted, you could probably get an argument from some of the UMP guys, right? But I think if you were to take a poll of people, USMTS would be the world of outlaws and modifieds. Listen, that the buck stops there. Right there.
Yeah, the downside of what CMS is doing, is that going to draw more people in the grandstand? I don't think so. Is that also going to sell more pit passes at the back gate? No, I don't believe that either.
Hold on, Kurt. I just trust me. I bet Earl has lost more money in the last 7-8 years than any promoter around.
Well, what it's going to do is save him $7,000 a week on purse money.
But listen, I want to be clear when I say this, right? I want to be clear when I say this, that Earl has told me himself that racetrack is like his golf game. He doesn't mind losing a little bit of money on it.
A little bit of money, not a lot. You don't want to lose a lot. Nobody wants to lose a lot.
I can't tell you the number, how much money he's lost, but I bet it's a pretty substantial amount of money for Earl. Because listen, as you mentioned, Kurt, Earl is the home of the Mighty Modifieds.
Yes.
Tom Wilson tagged the Modifieds that himself before his passing. The Mighty Modifieds.
You can't say that anymore in 2022.
Let me just say this. You know how difficult that had to be for Earl Walls to pull that trigger.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
Listen, Earl Walls is as a proud a man as anybody I know. Right? We all know it's about Earl, right? This is my racetrack. I'm going to run it my way. I'm a proud man. I'm going to do it my way. And if you don't like it, you can hit the road. Right? And so it would have had to take a tremendous hit on his pride to be able to pull the plug on the Modifieds.
You bet.
Kirk, isn't there a small press release that he sent out, a little statement saying that they were going to drop him in 2021? Do you have that? Could you read that statement?
Yeah, we posted that on the website. I'll bring that up here as soon as I can.
Because I think it's only a couple paragraphs, isn't it?
No, they put out a pretty good release on this thing here. I'll see if I can.
But I would like to. Does Earl have a quote in there?
I'll
take a look at that real quick. But folks, I'm telling you, the A-Mod racing is dying.
Okay, here's what Earl Walls said, and I quote: "After 27 years of supporting the class, we decided to let the A-Mods go. The numbers have dwindled over the years, and the class just does not bring in the people like it used to. We had one, if not the best, payouts for the class in the country, with $1,000 to win for a weekly show, decreasing by $100 increments on down to $100 to start, and an overall nightly purse that exceeded $7,000. So even with the car counts decreased to a point to where we no longer financially made sense to continue with them." And Walls continued, "This was not an easy decision to make, given the track motto was the home of the Mighty Modifieds for many years, dating back to the time of the late announcer Tom Wilson. I know this likely comes as a surprise and shock to some, but hopefully by releasing this information now gives the A-Mod drivers and teams ample time to make plans for their race programs going forward to next season." So,
does it say something in that press release about open wheel racing, Kirk? Because somebody told me it did.
They were talking about some of the things that they might add to the program. And I'm just looking down through this press release right now. They've got some options. Their early plans for 2022 include working with regional sprint groups and some regional late model and additional series for special events throughout the year. The track will host its traditional track specials for weekly classes over the big 3 summer holidays. So they're looking at.
Well, hold on now. Does that mean the Tom Wilson Memorial Barbecue Bowl down there, is that still going to be an A-Mod race?
Could be. They might bring in the A-Mods for special events, but not on a weekly basis.
You know, I think Earl said it right. You know, Earl has been, if not the highest paying track in the country, one of the highest paying tracks in the country. $7,000 purse for A-Mods weekly. 1,000 to win, 100 to start. Is that what I heard? 1,000 to win, 100 to start.
Right.
That's about as good as it gets, folks. I mean, we travel all over the country. Most modifieds race for $500-$600. Earl has never caved in on the amount of money that he's paid out for those modifieds. He stuck to his guns all the way till the end, where he finally realized, I'm going to have to drop the class because it's just not worth it.
Actually, I messed up. It's 160 to start, not 100. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was $160 to start. I misread that.
It's funny, Kirk, because I thought it was $175 to start. So it's $160
to start, right.
Wow. So that pays for your fuel and your rig and buys you one tire if you want to buy one tire a week. And can't get the cars down there to race.
Well, not at the level that they wanted to. They had they went back and took a look at the car counts over the years when they first started the class, at 1994 was the first year the Wolves had the track, and the best years as far as car count was like the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and it's just kind of gone off from there.
Kirk, let me ask you a question. And I don't want you to stand on the fence when you give me your answer. All right? You think Earl Walls, the man, hurts his racetrack a little?
I don't know. I mean, when you put out that kind of money, I don't know how you can hurt it.
One thing for sure about Earl Walls, he does it his way. But with that being said, and I'm okay with him doing it his way, it's his damn racetrack. He can do what the hell he wants to do.
Most racers, and you've been a racer, you know this, most racers just want a fair playing field, and they know they're not going to get screwed around when they go to a racetrack. They want to know the playing field is even and fair, and they've got as good a shot of winning as anybody else. I still think you get that at Central Missouri Speedway. Earl Walls doesn't care who wins.
Not that we know of.
I don't think he does.
I think he's a little bit of a Tim Carrick fan.
I just don't think he plays favorites to anybody. And remember,
they
disqualified Tim Carrick a few weeks ago. Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
So no, I don't think he plays any favorites. I mean, that's all a racer wants, is that he's got a fair shot when he shows up at your racetrack. And I think people still think they do when they show up at CMS.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I've never disliked Earl as much as he's disliked me for my comments on this radio show. But I will tell you, if I owned a racetrack, I'd do it my way too, just like Earl. I don't know if I'd be as extreme as Earl. Earl, getting out of the car on the racetrack, you're kicked out for the year, saying that if you'll never come back, you're never allowed to come back.
Would you stand out in the middle of the racetrack like Earl does? Would you stand down there the way he does during the races and right next to the track and the action? You probably would. I don't know.
No, I'd probably stay in the booth.
You'd stand back.
I'd be the man behind the curtain.
Right. Did we ever hook up with Lee there, Todd? So we thought we had her for a second.
She's there. I just don't know if she can. We can't hear her. She might be able to hear us. So if you can hear us, you might need to unmute your mic there.
So we'll try to get her locked up with her. She's on her way to Bristol, I believe. I think I saw him on the road.
There she is.
Are you there?
Hey, Lee. How
here.
You doing?
I'm driving back from Asheville. Had to get some groceries for the house for the weekend.
Oh, Asheville.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
How far is that from Bristol?
It's about a 90-minute drive when we commute back and forth. And I got to tell you, last night it was worth the commute, seeing that Xfinity race.
Wow.
Hey, that I didn't get to see that, but Asheville up on top of the mountain, right?
Well, right now I'm in Montreat, which is up the mountain from Black Mountain, so I'm about 20 minutes from Asheville.
Talk about that race last night. I didn't get to see it.
J.J. Allmendinger.
AJ? AJ was a hoot, and he had a big sword at the end of the night, and he only led one lap, but it was the one that counted. So that was he really he made a statement. Justin Allgaier really dominated that race. He led the most laps and triggered the final caution that set the race into overtime. And when it went into overtime, Allmendinger, it's hard when you have that AL, right?
Right.
But Allmendinger made the most of the restart. He and Cindric, who are battling for the regular season championship, went toe-to-toe, pounded each other and eventually, slammed into each other not once, not twice, not three times. And then as it looked like Allmendinger was going to have the lead coming to the checkered flag, Cindric gave him one more punch and they went sideways and sparks flew as they took the finish line or took the checkered flag.
Yeah, that was a great thing. Boy, think if we get something like that tonight, the Cup race.
Oh my! I have to tell you that Xfinity race and Scott, if you get a chance to go back and watch it, it was really something else. And I mean, you really only have to watch the last stage, but that last stage was probably some of the best racing that we've seen at Bristol in years. And not to take anything away from their dirt experiment in the spring, but I got to tell you, the old Bristol was back. And when they asked AJ to describe it, he said, "It's Bristol, baby," which, it kind of lived up to the moniker.
And that secures the regular season title for AJ Allmendinger, right?
Yes, it does. And, that was a hard fought battle between he and Cindric all the way to the finish. And it was, a 10-point swing when everything was said and done. And now they go and battle in the playoffs. And AJ had some heated words for Cindric over the radio. Nothing I can repeat on with children listening, but after he calmed down a little bit and went to the infield care center and then to Victory Lane, which was really convenient because one's on top of the other. He was able to enjoy the moment and reflect and said that Cindric really makes him better and he has made him a better racer and he enjoys the camaraderie that they have and how they push each other to be better.
Well, talk about that right at the finish. Talk about that finish. I mean, across the finish line sideways. And, we've not seen a finish like that for a long time.
No, that was really sporty. And,
yeah, let me ask you this, Lee.
Yeah.
AJ Allmendinger, he's got a new leash on life, doesn't he?
He has a new lease on life. And I asked him that very question because you have to understand 4 years ago, I think it was, when he was running for JT, he was actually, I don't even think he was running Cup at that point, but he had a chunk of hair missing out of his scalp. And I said, "Man, the barber really screwed up, didn't he?" And he goes, "No, Lee," he said, "that's nerves." And the anxiety was had gotten so bad for him inside the race car that it just overcame him.
Wow.
It really,
I think we're going to try to make another connection.
No, she's just driving. There's not much we can do. She'll come out of it.
All right.
Yeah, she'll come out of it. All right. Well, so Kirk, did you watch that race last night?
Yeah, I watched the finish of it. That was incredible the way that turned out at the end. I think Lee is right. That was back to kind of Bristol that we used to see back in the day, where you got a lot of beating and banging going on. That's really what people want at that racetrack, right?
Yeah.
Understand why AJ is kind of the way he is. I think that they're cut kind of the same cloth. Didn't come from a lot, but, fell in love with racing. And, that's kind of what they've, I think they're similar in a lot of ways and they have a lot of respect for each other, but they took different paths to where they are. And if you saw the way AJ raced last night, then, you have a better understanding of what's going on.
Hey, to talk about that truck race just for a minute, that was on Thursday night. Chandler Smith finally breaks through with the win, but a little bit of issues between teammates there at Kyle Busch Motorsports. John Hunter Nemechek, not a happy guy.
No, he wasn't, and he made it look like he stumbled and went up the track, but I don't know. I think that was a team order situation, and we may never hear how the final word on that, but it certainly looked like that in black and white, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I understand why they did it, because if it wasn't going to be him, it was going to be Zane Smith, and so then you're going to get another Chevy driver in there, and so he was JH was a team player that night, but when it comes to NASCAR's 100% rule, I don't think he was following the rule of the law.
Gotcha. Lee, have you been watching any dirt track racing lately?
I got to see the end of the All-Stars last night with Macri just basically covered the field, and I got to give Kurt props because, if you a while back when your boy from Clute, Texas was knocked out of the Roth race car, and Kurt said, yeah, Macri should be that guy. Somebody really needs to give Macri the opportunity to run with the big guys because he proves time and again. And I know, last night he was at one of the posse tracks, but at the end of the day, the guy's got really talent. And I think if they ever get him dialed in on a national series, he'll be quite competitive.
Oh, I agree with that. And the best part that he's got going for him is his age. He's a very young guy. But, to hold off Lance DeWeese at Williams Grove, that anybody doing that is getting it done.
Well, and I thought he looked really stout, and he's proven time and again he can run with the national guys. But the deal back. Let's flip back real quick to AJ before we move on, because like I said, I asked him about the why is he able to do what he's doing now with that team, because last night was his fourth win in Xfinity and more wins than he's ever picked up in the season, right? And at the end of the day, he said, Matt Collig, he's standing right here, and Matt Collig lets me be me. And I would think that if you're a driver and you come from the wrong side of the tracks, but your parents have put all the blood, sweat, and tears of getting you where you need to be and getting you in front of the right people. And, even though they can take you to the drivers and the racers charm schools, as we've seen over the, course of history, the one thing about AJ has more personality in his pinky than most of the kids you see coming up today, right? But when you're running with somebody, running for a guy like Roger Penske, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I think that, even running for Tad Geschechter, as laid back as Tad is, Tad's a marketing guy. Tad's probably the best marketing guy in the NASCAR garage. And I think when it comes to RTA, he is like head of, partnerships and things of that nature. And so, I think AJ just felt that corporate pressure. And Matt Collig, since Matt Collig owns the team and Matt Collig owns the sponsorships, AJ really has the freedom to be himself. And I think that that's what has allowed him to thrive this season.
Well, all I know is that there's certain people in our sport that are easy to root for. And there's never been a time to where I ever thought, AJ Allmendinger, what an ass. Never. And I don't know anybody that's ever thought that about him. He's just such an open and honest guy. He's one of those kind of personalities, kind of like a Ray Lee Goodwin, a Hall of Famer just passed away. He's able to pull you in with his personality. And that's one thing I've always appreciated about AJ Allmendinger.
He really does. And I mean, you talk about somebody who's fun to party with. I mean, we had some blowout nights in Charlotte and San Francisco. And great times on the golf course. It was really funny. We were playing golf in Las Vegas one time, and we went and we picked him up from his hotel, and he had I don't know how many hours of sleep he had, but he just kind of jumped in the back seat and kind of slumped down, and we drove down to the golf course, which was probably about 30 minutes, south of the track. And I guess we got about 9 holes. He said, he goes, this is going to be one of those days. And he pulled a bottle of whipped cream vodka out of his golf bag. And it's the first time I ever saw whipped cream vodka. So he started just drinking out of the bottle and playing golf. And, he enjoys life. And I always admired that about him, the fact that he just really has a good time. And I could tell AJ stories for years, but some of it would be off the record, and something we'll share when we're pounding some beers, on the motorsport media.
But Lee, don't you think that AJ Allmendinger is still in the sport because of his personality? I mean, really, don't you think that's what's kept him in the eyes of people, because they know the representation they get out of him as a driver and the way he's a true professional and people gravitate towards him? Don't you think that's kept him in the sport a little bit longer than maybe some other guys?
Not to the degree of a Kenny Wallace or a Michael Waltrip or, guys along that ilk. And I'll tell you why. Because AJ has true raw talent. And I'm not saying that Mikey and Kenny don't, because, they've won a ton of races. And Kenny's a baller. Kenny's almost 60 years old and he's out there grinding, and I've got all the respect in the world for him, and he's doing what he loves, right? AJ had the kind of talent where he won 7 kart races, and I know it was right at the demise of kart, but to kick those guys' butts, guys who have been trained in Europe and come over to run open wheel, and for him to do what he did, it was just finding the right situation for him. And I will tell you, Matt Collig, coming from his background and being a collegiate quarterback for the Akron Zips, and, an All-American in high school before, his injury, Matt Collig he's really based on athletics, right? He's a performance guy, but he's also has that coach mentality that he knows how to get the most out of his people. And he has found a way to get the most out of AJ. And when AJ says he lets me be me, I think some of that is just, if you ever listen to AJ on the radio, he rants. He goes, I can't drive this car. I can't, bitch, moan, all the way through every lap. And then at the end, he finds that something to be there at the end. And I think that's, I was watching that race and I tweeted about it last night. I'm sitting there at Bristol and at Bristol, you can run, but you can't hide. I think it was the start of the 3rd stage. And there were 11 cars out front, and then it was the rest of the field. And that tells you the discrepancy in not only the talent, but the equipment. So you basically have a series, which is the 2nd series, in stock car racing in America. And there's only really 11 decent cars. And then there's everybody else.
Hey.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, finish your thought. Finish your thought.
He just fed you a wheel right there.
Finish your thought. My bad.
No. But I'm just saying, and this was after Josh Berry was filling in for Michael Annett, and I'm sorry to say Michael Annett's having issues again, and wasn't in the race, and something went with I want to say it was the brakes. They were leaking fluid in that car. So let's say there's 12 cars. So there's 12 out of 36 that are really top-notch Xfinity cars. And, when you see these kids coming from Xfinity and getting cup rides, they got no damn business being there unless they're an AJ Allmendinger who's winning 4, 5, 6 races a year.
Mm-hmm. Lee, I want to switch it up a little bit. Let's talk quickly about this Los Angeles Coliseum. This temporary.
I was wondering when you're going to get to this schedule.
Right. The temporary quarter-mile track at the LA Coliseum. Oh my gosh, what are we doing now?
I'll tell you what we're doing. TV wants a race in a large market. And I don't have to tell you guys that TV salivates every time the Yankees get into the World Series, right? Because they have the LA or they have the New York market in their, top ranked baseball series of the season. Same thing where, you had Brady in Boston and maybe not so much in Tampa Bay, but you get an LA team, you get a New York team, you get a Chicago team, you're going to pull in numbers. It's the same way with the racetracks. I mean, unless you're going to put on a really good product. And I think that they proved after what you saw at Richmond and how lackluster that track was, they had to find someplace else to go. That track no longer is going to be in the playoffs because it was such a bad race. Now, you're moving into urban markets. You added the LA Coliseum, which is actually in LA. This isn't in Fontana, California. You have, Chicagoland lost a date. It's not in Chicago. It's in Fontana. It's in Joliet. Gateway is 10 minutes from downtown St. Louis. You're moving into these markets. And as I asked Ben Kennedy on the teleconference the other day, if you can't get the masses to come to the racetrack, are you taking the product to the masses? And he said, absolutely. And that's why we're getting into these markets where you have high concentrations of people. He mentioned the grassroots racing. He mentioned the dirt racing. I don't have to tell you because you were talking about it for 15 minutes before I got on this call that, these Midwestern tracks, they're pulling in the numbers. They're pulling in the grassroots fans. NASCAR has made no bones about it that they want to pull in the dirt crowd. They want the grassroots fan. They want them to get interested in racing. They're not going to put a harness on Kyle Larson because when Kyle Larson shows up at your local track, your fans are coming out to see that big name NASCAR driver, even though we know he's better on dirt than NASCAR, but he's great on both, right? But I mean, it's spreading the gospel of NASCAR, and they're taking it to big venues like a LA Coliseum, and I'm not saying Gateway is a huge venue, but Worldwide Technology Raceway is smack dab. It's a 10-minute drive after the valet brings your car to you in downtown St. Louis. You're going to be at that track in 10 minutes.
I wonder if our friends at Kansas Speedway are a little upset that Gateway got a date.
I don't think so. And you know why? They've got the second race in the playoffs, so they've got a much better date. They've got a September date. It's
hallelujah for that. They listened to us, Lee. They listened to us.
Right? I mean, that's what you're saying. I mean, I would think that it used to be that North Carolina you had the most souvenirs for NASCAR sold out in North Carolina. Well, that was number 2 was Pennsylvania, and that market was really, really huge. Where's the racing market now? Where does World of Outlaws concentrate there? It's St. Louis, Indiana, Illinois, Kansas. I mean, it's like everybody's trying to get in the Midwest because it's so centrally located and people can get there. You're not going to have to worry when you go to Kansas City, when you go to LA, when you go to St. Louis about finding a hotel and getting just absolutely raped for the hotel prices. People lost a year of the hotels, especially lost a year of revenue last year. So they're gouging the crap out of the race fans, and I feel for them. So if you get to more places, and you will see that Portland, the track where IndyCar ran last weekend, Portland is going to be on the Xfinity schedule, and that's just a warm up for when they get to the point and if they think that they can handle a cup race. And so they're finally going to get their Northwestern, date on a NASCAR schedule. And I have to applaud them for trying. This LA Coliseum, it's going to be an experiment, no doubt about it. But you're actually going to have the Los Angeles market, which time and again they say is now the top market. I mean, the number of people, you have 10 million people in LA County. I mean, it's huge. And I'm not, quite sure what to expect out of the competition, but, I'm hearing there's going to be heat races. So they're going to include all the drivers that want to come, not just, we're not sure what the format is. They haven't announced it, but, we're hearing that there could be heat races. So any driver who's a Cup driver, and part of that 36 will be allowed to come and run the next gen car. It's going to be your next gen debut will actually be in the top market in the country. And I had to laugh because they had me on the local Bristol. I do a little hit for the Bristol radio station every week, and they asked me to come again on Friday, and the local guy, he said, "Oh, what about the Southerners who are bitching that all their tracks are going away?" And I'm like, "What the hell do you mean all the tracks that are going away? The people who have lost dates in the last 4 years are Pocono, Dover, New Hampshire, and Chicagoland. Chicagoland is just kind of slowly, come off that schedule. And truth be told, and I think you guys know this, and I've had this discussion with Brody Hayward all the time, because Brody lives like on the Illinois-Iowa border and knows people around there. That property where Chicagoland is much more valuable to put up Amazon warehouses than it is to run a racetrack. So, it's kind of a win-win for Chicagoland too. Maybe not the Chicagoland fans, but hell, we're going to Road America. I mean, other than Road America, the tracks that they have brought in, the people who have gotten these race dates are Atlanta, which is in the South, Nashville, which is in the South, Gateway, which, is technically south of the Mason-Dixon line. And so I don't want to hear that, we're moving out of the southern region, because there are more people, more races in the South now than there have been in 5 years.
It's funny, Lee, when I watch TV, the thing that I notice the most is how much the East Coast gets covered. I feel like people in the Midwest are a little bit deprived. Like, we're second thought citizens here in this country. And the only thing that matters is what's going on up and down the East Coast. And do you feel that ever?
Oh, I felt that all the time. I mean, and, being a lifelong Cardinal fan, right. The other team that we were playing, if they were on East Coast, West Coast, they're getting, a hell of a lot more attention than we ever do. I mean, I think if the Chiefs weren't, Super Bowl champions, if they didn't have an electrifying player like Patrick Mahomes, you guys wouldn't be getting the coverage that you're getting right now. So I have to agree with that, but I will say NASCAR has found a sweet spot in the Midwest. And, when people ask about that, and people from the South ask about it, they're saying that's where the grassroots race fans are. Mm-hmm. And you have, like I said, you talked about it before I got in here about, how, the dirt market is changing and shifting, and how exciting late models are, and how many modified races do you need. But people are talking about it. People are going to the races, now that a lot of people are vaccinated, and, even those who won't do their duty, but, they're coming back to the racetracks. And so I think that's it's a win-win for the promoters, and, you can keep building the fan base in the Midwest. And I think racing right now, the hotbed is in the Midwest. I don't think Roger Penske wanted to revitalize the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for giggles. He knows what that place means to the heartbeat of mid-America, and bringing the race fans to there. I mean, that just, anybody who's ever gone to that track leaves there feeling like they have been to one of the motorsports meccas of the world. And I think that's a cool deal.
Hey, I can't tell you how big this is to get that Kansas Speedway date back to September. This is going to be huge for that racetrack. The word is now October 24th. It's going to be hard to get a walk-up crowd that day. Advanced sales are not going to be what they could be, but get that race back to September, to me, that's a big rejuvenation for that racetrack, to me.
Well, and not just that, it gets better play where it's going to be in the playoffs, and quite honestly, with the 750 package, that, and I wrote a column on that 750 package, having those shorter, you had a shorter track with Darlington, right? And then you had back-to-back short tracks with the 750 package at Richmond and tonight at Bristol. That plays right into Joe Gibbs Racing's hands. So they're the best at the 750 package. And so you could get a clean sweep. I mean, I would not be surprised if Kyle Busch wins tonight. And then you get a complete clean sweep of, you get three of the Gibbs drivers absolutely locked to go into the round of 12. And I mean, it was custom made for them and probably not, really smart on NASCAR's part to set it up like that. And I think you could have put Richmond in later in the season, and people are going to bitch and moan about that. But I think it's great for Kansas because, my God, there have been times when you leave your car at Kansas Speedway from the media parking lot to get to the media center, and you can't move your fingers by the time you get in there. And that was just ridiculous. And even though Midwesterners are hardy people and will sit outside for football and what have you, in the death of winter, it doesn't make for fun, racing. And so I think it's going to be a lot more interesting with their new date.
Hey, Lee, do you think NASCAR ever privately has conversations with team owners like Rick Hendrick, really the number one guy that has the number one dirt guy in all of dirt racing, maybe the number one driver in the world? Do you think that they privately have conversations, keep feeding the dirt tracks with Kyle Larson? Do you think that happens privately?
Oh, I think there have been conversations between World of Outlaws and NASCAR. And, I mean, I think that they're, high tide raises all ships. I mean, you better believe, especially in the middle of COVID. And honestly, I've got two hardcore New Jersey race fans staying with us at the house this weekend. And one of them's a, longtime friend of mine. I've known him for over a decade. We vacation together and he runs his own little, race team up in New Jersey. But they basically go, everywhere. I mean, they were Thursday night, they were pulling for Stuart Freese, and they won't pull for him when he runs the local track because he kicks everybody's ass. But because he's, because of his background, when he races in NASCAR, they pull for him. And, they're Larson fans. And, it's that same kind of mentality where this whole, they go to the racetrack and they support the guys that, support the local tracks. And I think that it continues to bring people like that to the racetrack. I mean, for them to, make the commitment to drive down here, to go to Bristol, to drive down and come to Richmond. I mean, they're going to come down to Martinsville, and, they love short track racing in the Northeast, and they're willing to make the time and effort it takes to come to the racetrack. And those are the fans that you want to cultivate.
So we're going to see a lot of bumping and bagging tonight, like we saw in that Xfinity race. What are we going to see tonight?
Man, I hope so. I'll be disappointed if their skirts fall over their faces.
Oh, that would
fly up terrible. In their faces. Sorry. Yeah,
it'd be terrible to be showed up by the Xfinity race, wouldn't it?
It would be, but it could happen. There's a lot on the line. I want to see these guys man up tonight. I don't want to see somebody drive away from it. So. It was that race last night. I hope you get to see it at some point, Scott, because it was hellacious and entertaining.
Did they use that old traction compound, or they try that resin on that? What are they using there?
Something weird was going on last night. They were burning some of that off the track, and I couldn't tell, if so much rubber had gotten laid into the sticky stuff or what was going on there. But they were going around torching the track last night. So I'm going to try to find somebody that can tell me what exactly was going on, because I found that curious.
All right, Lee, what do you got coming up on Racing Boys?
Race coverage, and it's there was certainly a lot to write about last night. And right. We talked a lot about the schedule this week. I think NASCAR's going in the right direction. I don't think that there are not a lot of tracks that need 3 races. And that was the other one. Darlington got another race, so that's another Southern track that got another race. But we don't need to, the people in Daytona bitching that they took a race for them because the Clash is moving. It's TV is really pushing the button on all of this. And you will see subtle hints that lead you to, realize that. And I believe Super Bowl's out in LA in 2022. And so they don't have to move all their people back to the East Coast and then come back to the West Coast and back to the East Coast again. They're making NASCAR do that, right? So, you're going to go to the West Coast, then you're going to come back for Daytona, then you're going to go back to the West Coast again. And, you'll be at Fontana 3 weeks later. But, I'm also hearing that even though we heard all this talk about them turning Fontana into a short track, that real estate might become a little too valuable too, and that might go away altogether. So keep an eye on that development as well.
Hey, we're really not interested in selling tickets at the racetrack as much as we used to. Moving all these dates around has really made it a challenge for these track operators to sell tickets. It's all about eyeballs on TV sets, but how difficult is it now moving all these dates around on the calendar for these track operators to sell tickets on an annual basis?
Well, it just depends how scintillating the action is. And I think Richmond learned right away that they better get their act together, or they might be a one race track too. And I'm sure TV saw what, they witnessed the same thing we all witnessed last week, and it just was not an exciting race. And thank you for the little, plug, Kirk, or the follow-up text about me calling Truex, because it just, like I said, this whole round of 16 played right into Joe Gibbs Racing's hands, and they made the most of it. But I think the word, and I don't feel bad for the track promoters, number one, because from the days that I got in and you had the Humpy Wheeler Express just, making you want to come to the racetrack, they would set up so many cool things, so much promotion before the race. Nobody was better at it than Humpy, right? And I mean, right. He really made you want to come to the racetrack. These racetrack owners have gotten so fat from the TV money that they won't get off their ass and promote. Yep. And, promotion is a lost art.
It really is.
I agree.
It truly, truly is. And so, Kirk, I don't feel sorry for any of these guys. And if you want to keep your race dates moving forward, I think NASCAR has shown you in the last 2 years, you want to race, you better make the product as, damn fine as it can be on the racetrack. If not, we're going to pick it up and we're going to move it somewhere else. And Dover made the right move by taking one of their, lackluster dates and moving it to Nashville. Nashville, that market, embraced it. I mean, the racing in Nashville has become just, not only Nash Vegas, where every wedding, pre-wedding party, bachelorette party, birthday party. I mean, all you have to do is go down to downtown Nashville and you won't recognize the place because it's, it's just Las Vegas on steroids, right? And you can drive there. You don't have to fly there. And it's, just really, really convenient. So the city got behind it, promoted the crap out of it. It's kind of like when I asked the question to Ben Kennedy and, he said, I'm sitting in downtown St. Louis now. When we had the announcement, they brought out Cardinal players, they brought out Blues players, the whole community is embracing this, and you have to have that community participation. Curtis Francois, the president or the owner of Gateway, he has done so much from a philanthropic standpoint. He's gone behind the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame and has helped promoted that. I mean, he does things within the community. That's really, you have got to be ingrained in the community to really get the support behind you. And he has that. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, even some of the people who are doing public relations now at these racetracks, they don't cultivate the relationship with the local TV broadcasters and radio broadcasters. I mean, Bristol does a phenomenal job. Bristol will take their TV partners to Charlotte for things. They'll take them on like buses and help, bring them to places. And, the days where that used to happen all the time, they're not doing it anymore. I told Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'm like, I'm happy to go to COTA. I don't have the travel budget for it. If you wanted to bring Send a jet for the local NASCAR people in Charlotte and take us to COTA on race day morning and take us back that night. You would get a hell of a lot of coverage. And, I didn't hear a peep out of that. And there were a lot of people who are national media that would have gone had they been given that opportunity. And, it wouldn't have, what it would not have been much for them to deal with.
Right.
Well said.
All right, Lee, we're up against top of the hour. Thanks so much for being on with us. We love you. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Lee.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Very, very best in the business right there, Lee Spencer. Nobody better. Find her work on racingboys.com. It's in the Racing Boys Scoop section. It's where you get all your NASCAR news, interviews, and more featuring Lee Spencer. And we are so blessed to have her with us because we know she's not getting rich working for Racing Boys. So we appreciate her so much. All right, Kirk. Before we get out of here, I've got to say one thing. I lost another friend on a motorcycle last week, and I forgot to mention it during the show. Jacob Wilson, his middle name was Edward, and he used to be on Tony Bruce's team. He spent the night at my house a time or two when he was working for Tony Bruce. Tony Bruce and his team would stay at our house. And unfortunately for Jacob, Ed, as we like to call him, he was killed in a motorcycle wreck last week. Great guy, man. 27 years younger than me. And when I got the news about Ed getting killed on a motorcycle, it was disturbing. So I'm going to put up this little, I don't know if you can see this or not, but
yeah,
I want to put up this little picture of Ed.
It's glaring off just a little bit. Tip it up.
Tip it to the left just a little. Tilt it to the left. Tilt it.
And then raise it up.
There you go. Now raise it. There you go. Now tilt it down just a hair, Scott. There you go. Perfect.
There we go.
Right there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man.
Yeah, I saw the post. I saw the post and his photos. He looks like a pretty cool guy, my friend. So.
Oh no, he was a really cool dude, man. Everybody really liked him, and he was a great guy. Derek Hagar's carrying his picture on his car this weekend, so he's carrying a lot of positive mojo with him. But Jacob was a great guy, good friend. I got to share some time with him down at the ditch when we were down there just a while back. And it was good to talk to him. We always get a laugh, and we talk about the time he was trying to serenade my daughters with the guitar when he spent the night at my house, and I told him that crap wasn't going to fly. And it's just funny time. So I'm going to miss Ed. He was a really good guy. Jacob was. So this is for Jacob.
Hey, by the way, we're sending our prayers to Fuzzy Hahn. We're thinking about you, Fuzzy.
Let me just give you a little update. They put Fuzzy on a ventilator, and she has rallied back. Let me tell you something about Fuzzy. Fuzzy is Fuzzy's a no nonsense person, and she can get in your grill if you need it. And I'm gonna tell you about that woman. She's tough as nails. She was at 90% on the ventilator just a few days ago. She's at 30% today.
Oh, hallelujah for that. Wow, she's coming back.
And I think they're going to wake her up today.
Oh, my God, that is great news. Let's keep praying. Keep praying, everybody.
Oh, Fuzzy's a tough old bird, and you're not going to kick her down easily.
Man, that's the best news I've heard in a long time, that she's coming back.
Yeah, let's just hope that it keeps working in that direction.
Prayers are being answered.
Right, no doubt about it, no doubt. All right, folks, want to thank everybody for tuning in to the show today. We want to thank our guests, Danny Lorton, Junior Parkinson, Lee Spencer. It's been a great show, a lot of great topics. I don't know if you disagree or agree with me about modified racing, but I don't see any future in it. You can comment on my personal page if you'd like, Scott Trailer on Facebook, or you can send us a message or send a tweet out on Twitter at Racing Boys or at Racing Boys Scott T. That's my personal Twitter page. You can always go there and leave a message or a post there and tell me what you think about modified racing. I think it's dying on the vine when it comes to A-mod racing. I think the end is near. And all you're going to see for modified racing in the future is Touring Series A-mod racing. I don't think you're going to see a lot of weekly A-mod racing in the future. And I don't think it's going to take long before you see other tracks like Central Missouri Speedway bail out on the A-mods. I think it's right around the corner.
I'm afraid you're probably right about all that.
Right. Okay, folks. Well, I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. Also want to thank Lucas Oil Products for their great sponsorship of this radio show. Make sure you always purchase any additives that Lucas makes. It doesn't matter what it is, folks. They make everything. Go find the Lucas Oil shelf at your store. Purchase their product. And if you get a chance, if anybody ever asks, tell them you purchased it because of the Racing Boys, would you? We'd appreciate that. Lucas Oil Products, it's made in America and sold to the world. For my partner, Kirk Elliott, Adam Bartlett, Todd Surprise, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week right here on Lucas Oil Products Track Talk.